Hey, my name is Frank Cohen.
And my name is Roxanna Rahgozar. And the first picture we're going to be talking about is the 23rd Street Station by Maya Kinsman.
And the second picture is My New Wave of York Skylines by my bro Andy.
What I like about this picture is that it was edited, and because of that it brings out the different colors in it. When you first look at the picture, you can see the white column, and what stands out most about it is that the white in that one and the white in the light are the only light objects in the picture. The rest is really dark.
Yeah, and I think that draws out a good contrast between the different objects in the picture. Clearly we see the different builds of the subway versus the column, and that's drawn out by the two different lighting effects that we have here in the picture.
When you look onto the right hand side, you see behind the first column is a second column, and it gives it a lot of depth to the picture, which also goes along with the idea that you can almost feel like you're moving with the subway again, because it feels like you're going backwards into the picture. So I really like the angle which she took this picture at.
And going off that idea about the angle, I like what she did here where she took it at an off angle. She's not directly facing either the column or the subway, and both were sort of at I guess a 45-degree angle or something of the sort, where you don't have an exact picture of either. You get a good glimpse of both, and allows for a lot of variation in lighting and a lot of distortion effects, which I think add to the greater effect of the picture and make it a lot better piece.
I really like that too, and what goes along with that is that because of the angle, you can contrast between the column and also the subway. I like that the subway column, it has an older feeling to it, which is what normally when you go into subways, they all feel kind of old and they haven't been renovated. But when you look at the subway, it's very new, and it brings along the idea that our technology keeps on advancing while our architecture tends to stay the same. And what happens is that we're not really renovating what we already have, we're just renovating the types of technologies that we're using.
And I think this idea of the old versus the new is not only very dominant in this picture, but dominant in a lot of other photojournals. Of course, there are other pictures of subways with the decrepit columns clashing with the idea of this metallic, more modern subway, and just overall a very dominant theme in not only this photo, but the other photojournals as well. And here is Andy's photo of a New York City skyline. The theme throughout Andy's photojournal was New York City skylines, and this is just evidence of that. However, it does differ in the aspect that instead of, like his other photos, it being locked in between tall buildings looking up from the point of a person on the street, this clearly is an example of someone standing, obviously Andy, on a rooftop with a good distance away from the city in order to capture a very decent portion of New York City's skyline.
What I really liked about the way he took this picture of the skyline that differs from all the other ones, like you were saying, is the angle which he took it. I like that from the top left corner, you can see the only source of light, that's where the sun's coming from, and how it illuminates over that side of the picture. And what I really like about it is that it goes over on top of the American flag, which I think he really captured beautifully, because the American flag is above the buildings, which almost gives you a sense like it's trying to say, this is our America, this is our land, and I really like that about it.
And yeah, Roxanna, I really like that idea of Americana you were talking about, because like Andy's other photos, we have, again, the Empire State Building sitting in the background, and as that is a symbol of New York, it's furthermore a symbol of the United States as a whole and our industrial power. And again, we see that here, like in Andy's other photos, it's sitting in the background in the bottom left corner.
Going off of that idea of industrialization, you see a really big contrast between, in the front of the photo, it's a more natural view of New York. You can see that there's also something blocking the more natural part of it and the more industrial part. But what's odd about the more natural area of it is that it looks run down and it looks sort of decrepit. It reminds me of a cemetery. And what's interesting about that is that how the industrial part is growing all the time, but then the natural part is almost like it's not being taken care of.
And I think this sort of urban growth versus natural decay definitely exemplifies the ideas of old versus new again. Here we have a decrepit state on top of this rooftop with these overgrown plants, this sort of natural disarray, versus the modern growth we see in the skyline. And thus I think we have these two scenes, the natural scene versus the industrial scene, in order to make us reflect on our ideals as a society, because we have this obviously environmental neglect versus this sudden focus on industrial growth. And I think it sort of speaks out about this idea of industrial and urban corruption and the neglection of sort of the more natural world.
So we just wanted to give you a chance to look at both of the pictures side by side. It brings full circle the idea that the old versus new in both of the pictures is very obvious. One being the technology versus the older architecture, and the second is nature versus industrialization.
And that's all. Thank you for watching.